Hyderabadi. Hyderabadi biryani originates from the kitchens of the Nizams, the Persian-influenced rulers who governed the princely state of Hyderabad in southern India for more than 2 centuries. The dish itself is the product of a culinary collision. Mughal techniques from the north met Telugu and Tamil spice traditions from the Deccan Plateau, and the result was something neither cuisine had seen before. The name biryani comes from the Persian word biryan, meaning fried before cooking, a reference to how the meat is browned in ghee before the layering begins. Hyderabadi biryani is famous for its kacchi method, which means raw. The mutton is marinated overnight in yogurt, ginger, garlic, and a long list of spices, then placed at the bottom of a heavy pot. Half-cooked basmati rice is layered on top, the lid is sealed with dough, and the whole thing slow cooks over low coals for hours. The meat and rice cook together at the same time, so the spices travel upward through the grains. The flavor is fiery, deeply aromatic, and unmistakably royal. It's typically served with mirchi kasalan, a peanut and chili gravy, and a cooling raita. Lucknowi. Lucknowi biryani, also called Awadhi biryani, comes from the city of Lucknow in northern India, the former capital of the Awadh kingdom. Where Hyderabadi biryani is loud, Lucknowi is whispered. The Nawabs of Awadh were obsessed with refinement, and their court chefs developed a style designed to be subtle, fragrant, and almost floral. The technique here is pakki, which means cooked. The meat is fully prepared in a rich gravy first, then layered with parboiled rice and finished under a sealed lid using the dum method, where steam does the final work. Lucknowi biryani uses lighter spicing, more saffron, more rosewater, and more kura, a flowering pandanus extract. The rice grains stay long, separate, and pale gold rather than deeply stained. The flavor is delicate, perfumed, and meant to be savored slowly. Locals often say the difference is simple. Hyderabadi biryani fills the room with smoke. Lucknowi biryani fills it with perfume. Kolkata. Kolkata biryani exists because of an exile. In 1856, the British East India Company removed the last Nawab of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, from his throne and sent him to Mitiabruz, a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Calcutta. He brought his entire court with him, including his royal kitchen. Local legend says the displaced kitchen could no longer afford the lavish meat portions of Lucknow, so the chefs began adding potatoes and boiled eggs to stretch the dish. Whether or not the poverty story is fully accurate, the potato stayed, and it became the defining feature of Kolkata biryani. The spicing is lighter than Hyderabadi, but heavier than Lucknowi, and the rice is often tinted a soft yellow with kura and a touch of saffron. The potato itself absorbs the meat juices and spices and becomes one of the best parts of the plate. In Bengali households, biryani is rarely a regular meal. It's reserved for weddings, Eid, and major celebrations. Sindhi. Sindhi biryani comes from the Sindh province of Pakistan, and it leans aggressively into spice. Where the Indian styles tend to balance heat with aromatics, Sindhi biryani is unapologetically hot, tangy, and tomato-forward. Yogurt, mint, coriander, green chilies, dried plums called aloo bukhara, and a heavy hand of red chili powder form the base. The meat is cooked in this mixture before being layered with parboiled rice. The result is a darker, redder biryani with visible streaks of color through the grains. It's the most exported biryani style globally, partly because it's the version served on Pakistan International Airlines flights, which introduced millions of travelers to it across decades. In Karachi, where Sindhi biryani is the everyday version, it's eaten at street stalls, weddings, family lunches, and political rallies. Frozen Sindhi biryani sold under Pakistani brands like Shan and National has carried the style into supermarkets across the Gulf, the UK, and North America. Malabar. Malabar biryani comes from the Malabar coast of Kerala in southwestern India, particularly from the town of Thalassery. It breaks several of the rules the northern styles take for granted. The rice is not basmati. Instead, it uses a short-grained, fragrant local variety called kaima or jarakasala, which produces a softer, stickier texture. The cooking technique is also reversed. The rice and meat are cooked separately and combined at the end rather than layered raw and cooked together. The flavor profile reflects centuries of Arab trade contact along the Kerala coast. Cashews, raisins, fennel seeds, and fried onions appear prominently, and coconut quietly enters through the cooking oil. Malabar biryani is milder, sweeter, and richer than its northern cousins, and it's traditionally served at Mappila Muslim weddings in Kerala, alongside a coconut chutney called pachadi. Outside Kerala, it's often called the most accessible biryani for first-time eaters because the spice level is gentler. Ambur. Ambur biryani comes from the small town of Ambur in Tamil Nadu, and it has its own dedicated regional following that treats it as the only correct biryani in South India. The defining feature is the rice. Ambur biryani uses siraga samba, a tiny short-grained rice that looks almost like cumin seeds and absorbs flavor differently than basmati. The result is a denser, earthier biryani with a chewy texture rather than the fluffy separation of northern styles. The spicing is restrained. Just red chilies, a few whole spices, mint, and ginger garlic paste. There's no garam masala overload, no saffron, no rosewater. The dish was popularized in the early 1900s by the Nawabs of Arcot and quickly became the regional standard. Today, Ambur is home to dozens of biryani-only restaurants, some operating for over 100 years, and the entire town treats biryani making as a serious civic identity. Dhaka Kacchi. Dhaka Kacchi biryani is the defining biryani of Bangladesh and the centerpiece of nearly every wedding banquet in Dhaka. Like Hyderabadi, it uses the Kacchi method, but the spicing and ingredients diverge sharply. The meat is almost always mutton, specifically older goat or lamb, prized for stronger flavor and more fat. The rice is chinagura, a tiny, aromatic, short-grained Bangladeshi variety that's almost never used outside the country. Ghee is heavy, the spicing leans warm and sweet rather than hot, and dried fruits like prunes and raisins appear throughout the layers. The most distinctive ingredient is borhani, a salted yogurt drink seasoned with mint and green chilies, which is served alongside every plate. Memoni. Memoni biryani comes from the Memon community, a Gujarati-origin Muslim trading community that migrated to Sindh and Karachi during the partition of 1947. The style sits at the intersection of Gujarati and Sindhi cooking, and it pushes the spice further than almost any other biryani variety. Whole red chilies, green chilies, and chili powder are layered together, balanced by yogurt and a generous use of fried onions. The meat is usually mutton or beef, and potatoes are sometimes included in the Sindhi-influenced version. Memoni biryani is rarely found at restaurants. It's primarily a home-cooked dish made for weddings, Eid, and family gatherings within the Memon community itself. The flavor is intensely hot, slightly sour from yogurt, and deeply layered with caramelized onion sweetness underneath. It's considered one of the most demanding biryanis to cook well because the spice balance has very little margin for error. Nasi Briyani. Nasi Briyani is the Malay language name for the biryani styles served across Malaysia and Singapore, and it represents what happens when a South Asian dish travels through trade routes and immigrant kitchens for generations. Indian Muslim traders, particularly the Tamil-speaking Mamak community, brought biryani to the Malay Peninsula in the 19th century. Over time, it absorbed local ingredients and Southeast Asian sensibilities. Pandan leaves, lemongrass, and coconut milk often enter the cooking pot. The rice is typically basmati, but it's sometimes mixed with local long-grain varieties. The meat is usually chicken or mutton, served with a side of curry, achar pickles, and a fried egg on top. Nasi Briyani is everyday food in Malaysia and Singapore, sold at hawker stalls, mamak restaurants, and food courts at prices a fraction of what biryani costs in the Gulf or the West. It's milder, sweeter, and faster to eat than its ancestral versions, and for millions of Southeast Asians, it's the only biryani they've ever known. Kabsa. Kabsa is the closest thing the Arabian Peninsula has to its own biryani, and in Saudi Arabia it carries the same cultural weight that Hyderabadi biryani holds in southern India. The dish is built on long-grain basmati cooked with meat, tomato, and a distinctive spice blend called bizar that includes black lime, cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, and saffron. The black lime, called lumi, is the defining ingredient. It's a sun-dried lime that is turned dark brown and almost hollow, and it gives kabsa a sour, slightly fermented depth that no other biryani-style dish has. The meat is usually chicken, lamb, or in Bedouin tradition, camel. Kabsa is served on a single massive communal platter with the meat placed at the center on top of the rice, and guests eat directly from the shared dish using their right hand. Variations exist across the Gulf. The Emirati version is called makbous. The Yemeni version is mandi, and each carries small but meaningful regional differences. Kabsa is a reminder that the Persian word biryani traveled in every direction, and the dish that returned to its linguistic homeland looks very different from the version it inspired in India.